All right, everybody, welcome. This is Barney Kuntze from YLSS Summit. I am the founder and creator, as you may well know. And if not, then now I just informed you. I am also a gold leader that's working on platinum with my wife in Canada, and I'm in Ontario, Canada. And we are continuing to build our business alongside with you guys in the trenches, figuring out what doesn't work. If you'd like to know, I can give you a big, long list. And I'm so happy for you guys to be here, whether you're live, whether you're listening to the call in the future. What's really amazing about this is that we have been very blessed and very grateful to have all of the presenters not only be a part of this amazing event for the Success Summit and to be able to give their wealth of wisdom in the form of a presentation and display it for you guys online. And I've been called forward to this mission and purpose and vision to bring the way I like to call it, the gifts of the many to the people who need it. And so tonight we have Andy Jenkins, who is an amazing teacher. And so I want to do my best to not talk as much because you all know that I have no problem with talking. It's just my challenge to be concise and short and to the point. And I'm really looking forward to what Andy's going to be sharing with us because he is an amazing teacher. I've had the chance to learn from him in person, had the chance to get to know him a lot better on a personal level and on a professional level. He's just a total stud. And so Andy, thank you so much for being here with us tonight to share what you have to share.
Yeah, man, this is a great forum. You know, the event itself that, you do once a year, kind of the big push right there that people can access and then access over and over and over and watch over and over and repeat and rewind and get refreshed with it. And then also these calls. Yeah, I'm super excited to be here and honored that you invited me and that we get to share. So this is great.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to be here.
Well, I'm glad to have you, and I know everybody else is that's listening as well. And by the way, if you guys are just listening, you might be multitasking or you might be doing other things and you're just listening, totally cool. You can go back to the recording after. However, we are going to be showing you some stuff on the presentation here, but it's not going to be super heavy in the visual aspects, at least not to my knowledge, but we are going to be showing you a couple things tonight. And first, what I'd like to do before I really kind of kick things off with Andy is I want to show you, just as a reminder, that when you have your online access, you can go in and you can log in. And I always like to use Jacob Adamo's login information because I have it memorized off by heart for some weird reason. And to find Andy's presentations, depending on which level of access you have, to watch either 2015 and or 2016, you can go in online and you can find the presentations. And I know, as an example, I'm going to go back to 2015 for a second, because I know Andy was on the first day in 2015. And this one right here, one of his presentations called The Husband's Field Guide, which was an amazing presentation. And he did, or you did, I think, did you do 2 or 3 presentations the first year around in 2015?
Gosh, man, I think the first year we might have done 3. Because we did the husband's field guide, we did something on the compensation plan, and then we pulled out a resource from the business builders workshop we were doing. Yes, there should be. I think there's probably 3 in there.
Yeah,
buried somewhere.
Yeah, they are in here, and so when you guys go in here, the neat part is that you can just go in and click on it. And of course, if you have the digital downloads and you already have it on your computer, then you're just going to want to refer to the guide or the presentation index so that you can go and see it. And the way we organized it, for the most part, was in alphabetical order by first name. So Andy's going to be right at the top in both of the years when you go to click on those guides. And then in 2016, I had it written down here, and now I can't remember. Do you remember which day you were on, Andy?
Oh, geez, I don't know. No, I don't. It's like it all blurs together. I mean, the great thing about the summit is it doesn't matter, like because you can go back and you buy it, you can catch them all. So
yeah. I know you're.
So yeah, I don't.
I can't. That's hilarious. I can't remember. I have a few. Oh, there we go. So there's the ladder on day 12. Which is really cool. That's a section that you teach in the men's advance or the advanced course.
Yeah.
And then there's a ladder part 2 on day 13. And then I think there was another one here on day 14. or it was just the latter presentations. But
Yeah, it's just those two.
yeah, but either way, they're totally awesome. And the one thing that I definitely know that you guys will learn as you continue to listen to Andy's presentations, with just his ability to take stuff that's really can be kind of complicated, or just hard to explain in a simplistic manner, and you're able to do that very, very well. And the last component here, guys, when you go to the homepage, so remember you can just the URL that you can type in is just you can imprint this in your minds and in your brains. This is the main link that we will be using, the ylsuccesssummit.com. Right now, it's redirecting to what we call a little subdomain, and it basically is bringing people here still to the page that's showing the 2016 event. And then along the top here, you can go ahead and click on resources, and we're going to continue to keep building this out because so many of the presenters, last call we had Tom Challen on, who was a trainer, a third-party trainer for Young Living or in the network marketing industry. He did a really great call last one in number 7, and we had we had Shelby Cruz on last one talking about yoga and oils, and she has a really cool service where you can access her training courses so that if you wanted to learn how to do yoga with essential oils, you can do that. And then Tom has some training. Andy has some great courses. And so what we found is that we actually get quite inundated on a weekly basis from people asking about resources or about links of presenters or speakers. And so we're going to continue to keep building this out here so that you guys kind of have like a one-stop shop to go to click on. And when you go there, we are going to be talking about some of the two programs that Andy has. If you see that as a good value for helping you on your Young Living journey, which I'm sure you will realize that. So I've done my talking for the night, Andy, from the building up of the excitement. And so what I'd love for you to do is just kind of tell us a little bit about, for those that haven't listened to your presentation for some reason, just your WILE story in a snapshot in a few minutes, just where you guys, kind of how you started and where you're at right now and where you see yourselves going.
Yeah, the short version of our story is my wife has been using natural health products and kind of living in that world, in that space for the last 16 years. When our first daughter turned, when she was born, she's now 16. When she was first born, we really wanted, or my wife is the better way to say it, Christy wanted more options other than just go to the doctor and they tell you, here, take this, and they just kind of give you the, just kind of the rundown without much decision, without much thinking, without much input from you. It's just kind of the, for lack of a better term, the party line. And so she really wanted to research some options that would have less chemicals, less side effects. We're certainly not anti-medical, but we really just wanted to be able to make some intelligent decisions is probably the better way to say it. And so she went down that path, and she was using herbal remedies, and she was using essential oils even that she was getting off the shelf from Whole Foods and from some other more organically driven, naturally driven type of store. She was Crunchy back before that was kind of a thing. And she really started on that journey. Now, I did not. And I mean, in fact, if you look at pictures of me from 3 years ago when we first got started into the Young Living world, I was 50 pounds heavier. I was really overweight, out of shape, stressed from working way too many hours, juggling way too many balls, too many irons in the fire. And I watched her initially. She got into Young Living just because she wanted a diffuser, and honestly, she just wanted to get out of the house one night. And she just needed a break, so she put the nursing baby, this was the 7th biological kid, put him on her hip, took him across town to a restaurant, and attended a class. And she wanted a diffuser. We already bought essential oils anyway, and so she came home, did the customary ask, hey, is it cool to get this? And she did, and so we did that. And the truth of it is she never intended to start the business, but as she shared the products, people wanted them. And so within 6 months, within 3 months, she hit silver. Within 6 months, she was on a Drive to Win contest, and we were, all expenses paid, trip or two to Hawaii. And it was on that trip, really, that a couple things happened. And I know this is giving you really kind of the quick version, but on that trip, we saw a farm, the Sandalwood Farm. We saw Gary and Mary. We met them. She was in the top 10 in the contest, so we got to spend some time with them in their hotel suite with some of the other top 10 winners. We met some distributors. We saw the business model. We saw this thing was legit. And on that trip, she hit gold for about an hour, and somebody pulled out of her organization, and so she fell right down below the OGV. This was on the last day of the month. And then, of course, that next month she bolted through it. But it struck me right then that she'd been doing this on the side with no support for me. And if she had a little bit of support, if she had a little bit more time, she could probably be really successful. And so um, that's kind of what we did. I flew back with her on the airplane and started putting together some resources, started putting together some ideas, researching the company, creating some goals for us as a couple, as a family. This trip really it gave us a pause on a busy life and helped us kind of to reconnect with each other. It really became a time where we started a new chapter. It became a time where, kind of on the health side of it, I was there in the hotel and jumped out of the shower one day and saw myself full length naked in a mirror and realized that, I was pretty stinking overweight and made a decision to lose some weight, like really right then. The goal was, it was right then. As soon as I boarded the airplane on the way home, I was going to start, eating differently, and because I knew the rest of the week would be crazy food. That's what I did. I changed, and over the next 3 months, lost 35 pounds, lost 10, 15 more over the next 6 months or so after that, just kind of I naturally cut gluten and some other things out of the diet. And it, became really a game-changing, chapter-turning. It sounds crazy, but it was really kind of a life-changing experience for us just going on that trip. And so that's how I got involved with something she was already doing really successfully. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I was just going to say, as I was listening to you talk, that um, could you imagine, just for some reason, I don't think that you actually would, but could you imagine um, how life would look like right now in just, there's always a fork in the road, so to speak, meaning when there's a decision to make, yes, honey, you can get this, or yes, honey, you can get that, or yes, I agree, I think we should do this. Could you imagine if you said no, like, sorry, I don't think it's going to work, or we don't have the budget, like, we're really strapped, and I don't think we can afford those oils, what life would look like for you guys if that had happened?
Yeah, I've thought about, some variations of those, and the truth is, at that point, I wouldn't have said no because she was already spending that money on herbs, oils, other types of natural health products anyway. So it was really just kind of a consideration of, hey, we were so financially tight at the time that it was paycheck to paycheck. Hey, it's the middle of the month. Do we pay the power bill right now, or do we wait another week until some extra money comes in from a little side thing or whatever? Um, Everything always got paid, so we weren't, as bad as some of the stories you hear of some distributors. But it, she was asking because it was over a certain amount of money. It was over $100 is why she was asking. But I wouldn't have said no. She was already doing that. And it does show you, though, that in my mind, it wasn't a big decision. And in my mind, you're going to hear a train in the background. I'm out on my front porch.
Awesome.
It's a beautiful night outside. And in the backdrop of the story there, I'm just thinking back, and it wasn't even going to Hawaii at the time. I didn't think of as that life altering a thing. I remember flying over there and she's telling me, oh yeah, some of the diamonds and people, they can make as much as $30,000, and I'm like, what, a month? And she's like, yeah, a month. And I thought, with this, you got to be kidding me. And you don't think of some of those. Best bet is if you look in the rearview of your mirror of your life, a lot of the things that have turned out to be really big forks in the road, you didn't know they were big forks in the road at the time that you actually took them. You know, like, in
Yeah.
other words, like there's a lot of grace that's moving you to the right destination.
Yeah. No, totally. And I think that my reasoning for asking that to mention is just saying like how impactful it's been for you in your life and how many people you've helped and are going to help with you guys together as a couple. As platinum members working towards and building close in on diamond. It's really cool because I think that obviously the circumstances have were at the time where you weren't going to say no, but I just like to think about it
Yeah,
as we kind of transition into some of the work that you're doing and the education that you put together, a lot of the free material that people have access to, is my reasoning for kind of asking it as well for everybody to listen and really think about it. Just imagine how much you how much potential we have to really change the direction, like literally change the entire direction of somebody's life by introducing them to the essential oils and the business opportunity with Young Living, to really bless them financially. And I just think about that with your story and like back to that time when Christy came home and asked you, and of course, being a great husband, you would have said yes, but just imagine if you didn't, and how many other wives or other people have came to events and husbands even, and they just decided not to get the kid or they didn't pursue it. I just think
right.
I take that as a great sense of responsibility. Not like in a pressure type way, but just how amazing of an opportunity that we have to be able to impact people's lives at that level, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, yeah, true. I mean, yeah, you never know kind of the ripple effect that you can have there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's cool. So that thanks for sharing. And now what I'd like to do is just kind of, we talked about the presentations, the ones that you have that are there that people can listen to, which by the way, if you're listening to this and you're not a VIP member, you don't have access to the downloads, at any time you can go here, and we have it set up now where you can actually click on the 48-hour access. And as soon as you click that button, you then have 48-hour access. It only enables you to do it once. But then you can listen to the presentations and you can go back if you missed it. And then you do have an option to extend it. But I wanted to mention that just because at any time you can go there and listen to Andy's material. However, some of the stuff that we're going to share with you tonight, Andy has some great material. So I wanted you, Andy, where would you like to start? Because I know you have a couple things. There's some free resources that you have, some like video courses, some ebooks and such. Um, so what is your first uh, you know resource that
First
you
thing
like?
we want to talk about.
Yeah.
Well,
Prepping us there.
yeah, yeah, that's a great question. I know originally we were going to talk about the ladder and the presentations that are there in the summit. I would I would I would say this though. The one thing that presentation hones in on, and that's material that's been developed for the men's advance. Like that's material that was developed for that event. It was refined at that event. We've taught it now. Geez, we taught it at event number 4, 5, 6, and 7, and we'll teach the same thing again at 8, which is in Nashville coming up in the fall. So I think we've really got a handle on it, and we've really struck something with it because we have a lot of the same people coming back, and when they come back, they bring more people with them, and it's not because there's a shortage of things to do, and so I think it's struck on something, and let me tell you a little bit about it, and then I'll tell you how it really started applying to me.
Yeah.
Is initially when I got into Young Living World, I was a guy, and there weren't really many things going on for guys, and so one of the first things I did was on that plane home from Hawaii, I talked with Christy, and she had the idea. She said, "Why don't you write? You talk. Why don't you write this book just for guys, like directed? Show the guys in our team how this is beneficial and how it helps." And so at that point, I really didn't know. And so, but I knew that's what I wanted to do because I saw so much potential. It's just, I really need to go back and learn the information. And so I started studying and really, the husband's field guide became really a resource that's available for people, but it was really kind of my journey of drudging through it myself. So I had really had to study, what is Young Living and who is Gary Young and what are essential oils, and not just from a 300-page, 500-page scientific version, but how does it make sense to the guy on the street? Like what does this matter? Think of it like an airplane. The science of essential oils is probably as advanced or more so advanced than an airplane, meaning the kind, you're going to jump on big one to fly from, Canada to Salt Lake to the convention. But in order to access the airplane and to fly, you don't have to know all the science of it. You just got to know which plane to get on, right? And just the basics. You just need to know how to do your seatbelt, how to get on, how to get to the airport tarmac, all that kind of stuff. Hold on, get off at this point, that kind of thing. And so how can you make essential oils that understandable to where people can access them and use them? And so I had to do that in that book. And multi-level marketing, there's a lot of naysayers about that. And so, we really broke that down in a chapter, and then really started talking about, all right, if you get through the hurdle of Young Living, you get through the hurdle of, Gary Young, you get through the hurdle of what are essential oils, you get through the hurdle of, how do they work and what's the science behind them, and you get through the hurdle of multi-level marketing, pyramid schemes and all these things, you get over that, and you want to help. I mean, what's an on-ramp? Like, how do you do that? And so that became that journey, and that was what I wrote there, and that's really still some of the information we share with our with our team members, which is you can go access that information and learn kind of the journey and the how and all that. Some of the natural next steps on that, because at the time there weren't a lot of business tools out there, were to develop some business tools for our team. Our team started to grow, and so we developed a way for our team to kind of understand the business itself, and that's where the Overflow Business Workshop came from, where they could understand the comp plan and understand generations and shares and stacking and hosting classes and terms like enroller and sponsor, and it really became our goal to give these resources to our team. It was never the intent to sell these widespread or anything. And what I found was about 1 year into this, I realized that all of a sudden I'm spending all my time like talking about the business, and that wasn't really ever my heart. I was glad to do it, and it was a need, and we wanted to help our team grow and have tools available for them. We were certainly open to other tools, and we were referring other tools. If ours aren't the best for you, gosh, get another one and let's just grow. There's a lot of great resources out there now, tons of great ones out there. But I found myself in this rut of all of a sudden I'm teaching the business model and teaching the information, and that really wasn't like that wasn't really me, if that makes sense. I think it is the calling for some people. They've done incredible at it, and the stuff they'll put together will be way more amazing than anything we'll ever do, just because I don't know that that's really my prime space. I think it was just a need, and we happened to be there, and it was there. So with all of that, kind of started stepping back and looking at it, and there was this big buzzword going on at the time, which is, what's your why? And I think a lot of people throw that around and aren't really sure what they mean by that. Not to belittle what anybody said at all about it, but it can almost become a catchphrase. You hear these catchphrases in other venues too. You hear these catchphrases a lot in churches. I grew up in church, and so we had our own catchphrases, and where people don't really think through the depth of what they mean. I think that's, but at that point for me, it was really trying to figure out, okay, what is it that I'm really like? What's my contribution? What's my wheelhouse? And so the latter became kind of the journey of figuring that out. And it became such a journey that, I was putting together material for the men's advances at the time, that it actually became, hey, this is the stuff that we're going to actually teach at the men's advance. Like this is it. And it stuck so well that we kept teaching it and we kept developing it because we kept learning, and refining that process. And so what I did was really step back with that and said, okay, if you're going to climb a ladder to any goal, you better make sure that ladder is against the right wall, first of all. Because you definitely don't want to climb, I mean, if you climb a real ladder and it's on the wrong wall, okay, no big deal. You just climb back down, you've lost a few minutes. If you climb the real ladder in life, I mean, gosh, you could climb, I mean, you could climb for a decade, and oh gosh, what did I do? And it's and I found myself kind of doing that. Like I was climbing some ladders. They weren't bad ones. They were good ones, but it just wasn't the ones I really wanted to climb. And so it was just kind of broke it down. And I remember there was one event where a gal, an amazing leader in our organization, Jason and April Houghton, platinum leaders, I mean, amazing. Hit like silver in like 10 days or something absurd, or a month, something crazy. They hosted an event and asked me to talk at it, and they said, well, just talk about whatever you want to talk about. And so I was developing this idea, and it just hit me with this ladder. It's like, okay, you got these different rungs. If you're climbing higher, and the first rung is really what is it that you want to be doing. And like that's not the destination, like that's just a rung on the ladder. And so often we define ourselves based on what we're climbing to, but that's not the thing. Like that it's just a rung on all. It's just a rung. That's it, and it's the bottom one. And so when you really start talking about what you're doing, you're really talking about what's the big idea, what's the big picture here, and you're going to get farther if you know what you're doing and what you want to do than somebody who doesn't have any idea. So if you know, hey, I want to grow a business, I want to lose 50 pounds, I want to be an incredible dad, I want to own a gym, I want to travel, I want whatever it is, you're going to be more successful at it than somebody who doesn't even define that. And you hear a lot of people talking about being held back, kept in check, put down, not having enough education, not having enough money, not having the right smart circumstance, whatever. But the reality is a lot of those people, if pushed in a corner and says, what are you being held back from, they couldn't even tell you what, first rung on the ladder, what it is. And so that really is the starting point, not the ending point. And so from there, really thinking through it, thought, okay, you got the idea down. What's the next rung? The next rung is understanding how you do that, meaning you get the skills, you get the abilities, you get the information, you get the and this is really moving you from an idea to an implementation stage. And this is at each one of these rungs you find a lot of people get stuck. They want to run a business, first rung, but they don't get the skills. Or they don't pull the trigger and host a class, or they don't ever, get on Facebook and let everybody know they got this business, or they want to lose weight, but they don't start the diet and exercise, or they want to be they want to have a great marriage, but they don't ever date their wife. That like it's that implementation is huge, but it's not the end. Oddly enough, that why was the third rung on the ladder. And that was really, you're moving from idea up to the implementation, really to the inspiration, the drive. And, in reality, I mean, to back up, you probably have 3 or 4 ladders that you're climbing at the same time. You got the good father ladder, you got the great husband ladder, you got the, businessman ladder or woman, you got the, all these together, and they all have to fit together, so they got to be close, and all of that. And they probably all have a different reason, which is fine, a different drive, a different why. So it wouldn't be just one why, it would be maybe a handful of them. And what I was finding is like this why may even change at different seasons. The why for a business maybe initially to get out of debt, or just to get out of the house and have some mental space. The why for the business later maybe, oh gosh, now I actually want to give, or now I want to buy a house, or now I want to get my kids into a good school, or the why can be in flux. I don't know that it's a thing that's just static that just stays. And I was noticing, as you go up this ladder, things get more refined for you, and they get more defined, and you get a greater intensity. Um, so, we really were talking about moving from what to how to why. And if you've been at the advance, which you have, you know that even on top of that, you got this other ladder, or this other rung, which is, I think is probably more influential than all these other ones, and that's the who. And really realizing, if you're kind of tracking these with all the I letters I'm giving you, that's really kind of the interdependence type thing. It's that you're not journeying on your own, you're journeying with a group of people. And I remember the first time we were teaching this at the advance, because at advance we teach these all, we teach one lesson on each of these, so it's like an hour on, or an hour and a half on each topic, and we get to the who. And I remember the first time we taught it. I teach the event with Les Wright, Barrick Birchfield, two amazing leaders in Young Living World. And I remember one of them, I'll tell you, it was Les, because he would own it. Like the first time we taught it, he was like, I'm not sure about that with the who, because when you get to the who, it's the idea that um, you can only be in a circle of just a few people that really speak into your life. And when you get that, like that's what's going to really make things work for you. And it's going to make things work for them. Um, there was a business professor a couple years ago, Jim Collins, over a decade ago from Stanford, and he actually studied what made some businesses excel and be great, while others with the same market conditions were, in his words, merely good. And so he was studying like number one versus number two, not number one versus number 50. And he was really trying to figure out like what made Walgreens better than Eckerd, that kind of thing. What made some department stores thrive, whereas which has happened lately, whereas like some of them, Sears is closing down a lot of shops. What's the difference? And they kept kind of mining the data and looking at it. What they came up with was it wasn't the mission of the organization. It wasn't the what they were trying to do, which makes sense because you had two drugstores, Eckerd and Walgreens, that are virtually identical. It wasn't even how they do it. And this was in multiple industries. This was computer industries. This was um, IBM and Tandy. This was, multiple automakers, multiple industries. Um, it wasn't the mission. It wasn't what they were doing. It wasn't even how they were doing it. The implementation. The implementation was virtually identical. It wasn't even the reason they were doing it. It wasn't even the why. It was not even the most important. What it came down to was some of the companies just straight up had what he called the right people on the bus, meaning the 5 or 6 core leaders, and some companies have the wrong people on the bus. And what he discovered was if you get the right people on the bus, the company will figure out the mission, they'll figure out the vision. In other words, they'll figure out the what, they'll figure out the how, they'll figure out the why. They will get a collective heartbeat that beats together, and then they will excel faster, farther than the organization that doesn't, because at the other organization, it will actually become, in some cases, it'll become toxic. And once you get that, you start seeing that in churches, you see that in businesses, you see that at schools, you see it you can see it in your downline. Why is it that you have certain downlines, certain legs that just explode when you honestly have people with the same skill set, same market conditions, same product, and another downline, and it seems to just struggle, and the data keeps saying it's the people, and not just the people, it's the relationships and the dynamics between those people. And so this was something really started taking seriously. And I look back in life and thought, golly, man, at every significant decision that I've made in life, good or bad, it has honestly more to do with the people that were in the room at the time than it did what we were actually doing. Meaning, like when I was in high school, I made some decisions and went in a great direction, and it had more to do with the fact that an older guy that was at our church, that was an intern in the youth department, kind of took me under his wing, had more to do with that relationship than with any other opportunity that was presented to me. Um, you can look back at the bad points in your life, and it doesn't absolve you of responsibility where you go, okay, that's not my responsibility. I can shift the blame, but every single one, it was there's the significance of the relationship is colossal. It's huge, and it just makes sense. I'm looking back at it now, going, golly. I mean, my faith background is Christian, and you look back at it and you go, well, golly, this makes sense because God's relational, and I believe we're created in His image, and so when He reveals Himself to Moses, He doesn't say, hey, I'm God, you need to follow me. He actually reveals Himself to Moses by introducing Himself through the family relationships that Moses already has. He says, I'm the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Like I'm related to people that you already know. Like he shows Himself in connection. He doesn't just drop down and do something. Even Jesus was saying things like, well, we'll back it up this way. If you went to a church Sunday and said, hey, where is Jesus taking you to? Just according theologically in the Bible, for people that are in that tradition, where is He taking you? People would raise their hand and go, well, He's taking us to heaven. And that's true. But if you read Jesus' words, He says, no, I'm taking you to the Father. Like I'm not taking you to a place, I'm taking you to a person. A person happens to be in a place, and the place is significant and all that, but it's a relationally driven thing. And so for business, I mean, I know I made a huge rabbit trail there with all of that and talking through this ladder, but it really became for me, okay, the more important thing is really when we get up higher. Like, okay, what are the relationships? What are the reasons? What's the heartbeat of what's going on with us? What's the why? Who is the who? And not getting stuck on what, but really driving and living out of your passion and living out of your wheelhouse, and then trusting that to take you where it needs to take you. And so the ladder really became that journey. And honestly, at that point, that's when as I was studying this stuff, I started getting into teaching some of the things that were kind of in my wheelhouse, like health and healing. And that's where we landed there. Does that journey make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's something where you there's a lot of intangible things that are kind of going on. I really believe that will dictate the success in whatever area of your life that you're looking to create success in, whether it's in your relationships or your finances or building your young living business or understanding it and simplifying it. And there's sometimes I feel like we want a short list of just tell me the 4 or 5 things that I need to do right now to see immediate results and progress, or maybe that's just me, but I do hear that from others as well. And I think that like what you're
Yeah.
explaining, what I really heard you say is just that it's building up. There's a lot of things that build up to the success in your life, and really acknowledging some of those things that I would call the intangibles, that can kind of seem hard to grasp a hold of.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is, and it's I think it's simultaneously, being let me know if that train kills you. I don't know why there's so many trains out
Yeah,
today.
no.
I,
They're
I
like,
live I live about a mile from the track, and it is a clear night out here. So I'm on this huge front porch with this nice breeze, and I guess it's just kind of wafting the
no,
sirens right
I
over at me. Um,
I think they tapped our email list, and they were like, "Oh, they're having a bonus coaching call tonight. We better make sure we get the horns out."
let's go in. The the intangibles. I mean, I think it's a matter of well, it's a matter of being present in the moment because there are so many intangibles. Yet the intangibles, um, they seem to point to the same indicators for people. Yeah, I mean, like success leaves its clues, for everybody, and those clues seem to all be the same. Um, Now, the manifestation of them might be different for all of us. So, I would say that you don't find you don't find many successful people who don't have a small core group of people around them that they're doing life with. That who is defined. Um, you just don't find it. Now, I mean, you might every now and then, but I'm talking about long-term health. I'm talking about long-term sustainability, not flash in the moment and then crash. Um, it seems. I mean, just look at the successful people in Young Living, and for the most part, most of those successful leaders come in groups of twos and threes. And there's probably more successful people really that are right close to them that you don't even see. Um, they're really leaning on each other. They're learning from each other. They're propping on each other. They're encouraging each other. They're building each other up. They're crying with each other. They're, oh my gosh, these are the people that know the high moments, the low moments, everything in between. They're not impressed by each other. They don't look down on each other when they hear that one of them yelled at their spouse. They just walk through the dirt of life together. That's a constant, I think, with successful people. But yet it's an intangible. It's relational. You can't quantify it. The why, understanding the reason, the drive, the motivation, which is, I think, a lower rung on the ladder. Ironically, that one, most people who are successful in any area of life, whether they're a lawyer, whether they're serving, an inner city school, whether they're building a great business with Young Living, or whether they're, knocking out, you know, uh, spent some time with James Lawrence. You were there with him this summer, with us at the Iron Will. Whether they're knocking out 50, 50, 50,
Yeah.
there's an intangible drive that's not quantifiable, but it's there. You know, that's a clue that success leaves behind. Going down the ladder, that um, next one down, the second one up. The how, getting the skills, and how's not just skills. How's figuring out how to stink and manage life. And knowing what stuff to prioritize and when to quit certain things so that you can focus on greater things. That yeah, I mean, certain skills are very tangible. Most of the skills that you're going to get are not tangible. They're
Yeah.
street smarts, but it's success leaves those clues. Um,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with that.
Yeah, well, yeah, I just, and that was what I kind of took from what you were, as you were explaining, um, what you're talking about with the presentation, not only with the latter, but from a strategic standpoint, or you could say a full theoretic standpoint, or philosophical standpoint. Gonna have to work on my pronunciation here, but I really do. I mean, I've noticed that myself. I've been in Young Living, using products rather for as a hobbyist for 8 years or so, and didn't really start taking put my stake in the ground, so to speak, to start building my business until the last 3 years. Well,
Yeah,
two fitness clubs, and what I noticed for sure was that just yeah, you start to notice people that are successful, and I mean I've said this before. That's why selfishly I created the Success Summit. It was because I was traveling to events and going to Shannon Hudson events and Jeffrey Lewis's events and going out west, going to conference convention. Um, Going to Sonia Swan's events, going to Men's Advance, and that's why I just felt like this was such an amazing opportunity to take the brilliant minds that are out there like yourself to really shine a spotlight on it, so that everybody who resonates with your material, or somebody else's material that they can really dig in and learn, because we all do learn
Yeah.
different ways. And where when you look at the successful people, even if you're at a spot right now where you're listening and you're thinking, okay, great, we're talking about success, but I feel like I'm not successful. For whatever reason, then it's good to just look at somebody else who's successful, find them, ask them questions, and even ask them if they'd mentor you or coach you or whatever. But there's a lot of cross line, without it sounding weird, a lot of cross line love that happens in Young Living for everybody to help each other, even if they're not on the same team, because we're all part of a bigger, greater family slash company named Young Living.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's from what I understand, that's pretty rare in network marketing. I've got a sister that's in another company, and you know, the company she's in has some of that um, camaraderie in it, um, but it's the one she's involved with is, and I won't mention what it is, it's different uh, deal than what we're talking about, but it's really rare. I've only seen that in two. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, usually I was I was part of another large, super large company back in the day, at least 10, 12 years ago. And it was totally like when we went to convention, they said, just as a respectful thing. It wasn't like, intending to be rude, but just like you stick to talking to people who are in and on our team, but everybody else you be friendly to, but you just don't interact with them because you want to keep like all of the training and the focus in within a line, so to speak. And I'm like, am I the same part of the whole company? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, if I talk to somebody else and they give me a great idea and I start building my business or sharing the products with more people and helping them, isn't that a good thing? And they're like, yeah, but just this is how we do it. Okay.
This is how we do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, that
I
doesn't
mean,
make
it's
sense.
yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean, there's always going to be, geez. I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. That's
Yeah.
because it's such an oddity. Like you don't see that often, right? It's really that's not the norm. Um, so anyway,
Yeah. Well, no, I agree, and I think that in the last little bit, it was we kind of come in for the close here for the call. I wanted to spend a little bit of time to talk about the ladder we've really been discussing. So just to remind you guys to not only listen to the call, but take my suggestion and advice as I had on all the calls that we've been doing here now. And I think that as we move forward, we're going to continue to keep doing this, where just give you nothing like a long list, but just listen to if you have the downloads and or your flash drive, just schedule it in. Make a note, say schedule in Andy's presentations and listen to them again, because they're ones that you can really listen to, and then there's ones that you can watch as well to take it in. But even if you just listen to it, I find I personally get more out of. Certainly, this has to do with my learning style, but I like to listen to something, two or three times, and I get more because I do have the shiny object syndrome, or I get distracted easy. That's a nice way of saying it. And so when I listen to the audio programs, then if I miss pieces the first or second time around, I get it in the third time. And so I really want to encourage you to listen to Andy's presentations. And then if you want to continue to dig in a little bit more, Andy, remind me on the resources. So if you guys, so let me go back here. So when you go to the YLSSuccessSummit.com and go to the homepage, you'll see resources. It'll take you to this page. For some reason, it's showing a weird link up at the top here, but it will just be YLSuccessSummit.com/resources. But just go to the homepage and click on it, and you're going to see two of
yeah.
these courses here that I think that you will really, really, really enjoy. And so I'd like you to just tell us just about the two that we have up here and what people can look forward to.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great, and I appreciate you sharing that. The first one there is the Overflow Business Builders Workshop, and that first workshop that we put together
That's the
that really provides you with a 30,000 foot overview of the business. If you're trying to wrap your head around classes, the comp plan, essential rewards, the Rising Star bonus, generation shares, how to get men on board, how to follow up with your team, all of these things, they are all right there in that resource. And yeah, you're scrolling through all of it right there. That's a perfect graphic where, really, if you're trying to figure out, hey, how do I understand the business, or is this business for me? Um, that's a great way to do it. And then the link that you have on there will get you a massive discount on that resource. It's 3 hours of video, all broken up into different
Okay.
segments. You can watch, rewatch, as much access as you want, log in from all your devices. It's online, stream it, read the ebook. Um, that's what that is. That is a tool we use to train our team members, and it's a tool that once we created it, our team quadrupled, in 9 months to a year. And
That's
so
great.
that's a great one to use. Um, the
Yeah.
other resource that you have there
Andy,
is,
before you,
and you can get the other one. Yeah, go ahead.
and I just want to share something. So, just so you guys know, if you're not watching the screen, just listening, I just want to tell you this that I've used this with my team, and it's been absolutely amazing. We still use it, where we will just in our meetings refer to it, and I always send them to this page because you got to remember this. And it took me a while, but there's two quotes that I picked up from Brian Carruthers, which I absolutely love his training style. And he says, if your mouth is moving and you're teaching, you should be pointing to a resource. And the next one is let the tools do the talking. And it took me a while to make that transition because I'm Mr. Fitness business guy. I'm in the area of or the area of expertise where people were trained to be the experts, to be the go-to people, to anytime you think about fitness, you go to this gym or this training studio. And so that was a mentality that I had in building my business. And it took me a while to really get out of that. So I just want to tell you this real quick. So there's on the overflow course, there's the intro, and then talking about classes to get your business jump started, getting paid to understand you're going to actually get paid, the strategy of just tips and tricks of being in the trenches, and then tax issues, the do's and the don'ts, just business etiquette, and then there's another lesson here on more programs, and then resources, follow up, your angle. So basically finding it in a way that feels natural and free to you. So you're not trying to force somebody else's style on yourself. And then the men, what about getting the guys on board? And then final thoughts, and then next steps. So those are the 12 modules, and that's all in the 3.5 hours. And the sweet part is that you can learn this, and I believe that there is an option where they can purchase it and then get like the workbooks or something for their, if they wanted to teach it to their team. Is that still available?
Yeah, yeah, that is in there, where they can. So yeah, you can buy those workbooks off Amazon. You can buy them off of, I mean, any of those online bookstores. You can get that book. But yes, once you get inside that module, you can get them at an even bigger discount, for your team.
Okay.
And so, yeah, and it's a great resource there to where, I mean, literally, if we have people that are wanting to understand the business, we drop it in the mail, a workbook. If they don't have online access, if they do have online access, we just invite them into the course, and then they log in and they're off and running.
They're good to go.
So, and then once yeah,
And
yeah,
it's,
it's a
and
great
it's only, I was just
great tool for
saying,
that.
yeah, this is like something like this. Like when I first look at it from my marketing brain perspective, I'd look at this and honestly expect a course like this to easily sell for 197 or 250. But he has it on here regularly 97, but there's a discounted price of $37. It's amazing. So I just think it'd be great for you guys to consider to do that for yourselves, especially if you're feeling as though you're not confident enough in teaching the business. Then use the resource here that's available for you in a very interactive way, because that's what I did. I would say this humbly, but very confidently. I'm a very confident person in myself and feel grounded, but I also know that I don't know everything, and that's why I use the course this way. So that's that one, and then the other one is when they click for the master course. And so tell us a little bit about this one.
Yeah, that one's a great. Oh gosh, that's a great class right there. That one has. Well, let me back up. What we did is we created that Overflow Business Builders workshop, and then over time, as you know, you saw other questions coming up, we started chasing those down. And so that course right there really contains 10 different video classes where really where you're looking at the first one, work it, it goes 16 lessons on the compensation plan, all broken into 5 to 8 minute videos, but just breaks it down super simple. The second one there, same thing, different view. That one really talks about, hey, in your organization, you've got two groups of people. You got business builders, you got non-business builders. As a business builder, you're probably drawn naturally. Got something going on there with your web.
Are you still there, Andy? Andy, you still there?
You there? I got it.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
I think it's coming from your end. I don't know if you're on your phone and your computer or
Uh,
something.
let's try. Man, I don't know what that's coming from. Huh? I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Sorry, we're still good. I muted myself, but it does sound better, so you can keep rocking there.
Okay, so you can hear me? Huh?
Yeah, I can
All
hear
right.
you. It just seems like a bit of a delay. That's really bizarre.
All right. Well, I'll keep on talking. You know, as a business builder, you're probably naturally drawn to other business builders. But the fact is, most of the people in your organization are not business builders. Most of the people are product users. And so with this product, it really helps people understand the difference between those two groups and really helps people understand that, gosh, you know, you got to look at everything through a business builder lens, and you got to look at it through a product user lens. And so that tells you how to work with both groups. Business Basics 101 just fills in more details about enrolling, sponsoring. 14 lessons on that one. Dig is videos through the field guide to the comp plan, big 300-page book, and that includes the book, the audio book, the videos that all go there. That is the audio book that you'd get on Audible. And then as you scroll on down, you're going to see some other resources that include the Husband's Field Guide, that ebook. It includes the audio from Audible on there. It includes videos that we've created to go with that class. Um, Financial Vehicles really tells people here's what to do with the money. Here's how to do the write-offs. Here's how to manage this. You know, you have money coming in. How do you run it like a legitimate business? And so we actually shot that with a business professional that helped us really make some sense of that. Um, and that was really taking some responsibility to say, all right, we've got some people that are hitting silver, they're hitting high executive, they're hitting some life-changing sums of money. How do you account for that and manage it? You know, instead of just throwing it out. What percentage of that should go back into the business? You know, what do you need to do about taxes and some of those other issues? And so that's really that's kind of the heartbeat of that. That course
Yeah.
includes over 10 different video courses, and normally we sell that for $197, but it's on sale there through your link right there for just $97, instant access to everything that's there. Separately, all of that stuff would be, you know, $400 retail. That one you just passed must-have for wellness is a compliant class where we talk through all 3 premium starter kits in about an hour, and it's a
Oh, right.
filmed class. We've actually had people, yeah, we've had people show people that class and actually get signups based on that class, which is fair game. It is amazing. We use that to show people that, you know, want the class, and so you can do that. Our member number's not on it, and so that's a great resource right there.
Cool.
And then, of course, if you show them the link, you do want to supply your member number. And then this one, advance is the information we teach. That's the latter. That is that information. That one right there is the audio. It is the ebook. It's the audio of the breakout sessions of an event we did in Dallas. It includes some bonus videos. So everything we talked about tonight is actually right there in live form, probably
Yeah.
10 hours of audio from that whole weekend. And so that's it, man. That whole bundle goes normally for, oh, it's more than I thought. It's normally like 527 bucks broken down. We all the time sell the bundle for 197, but here it's on sale for $97. Pay once, log in as many times as you want from all of your devices. You just use your username, password, and you're in. And
Yeah. Wow. That's
yeah,
pretty awesome, and I think first of all it's amazing. I mean, when you look at it here, even if you're on a bit of a budget and for whatever reason if 97 doesn't fit, which sometimes depending on where you're at, that happens. I've been there, but then even just saying here, give me instant access for $41 now, and then just another two payments. And I think when you look at it, I think so. This is a great image. We're showing all of theirs, so it's showing at least 9 of them there of the courses
yeah,
that they can use or utilize. And I just thought this was funny up here because I remember reading or seeing this book, The Husband's Field Guide, Navigating Your Wife's Essential Oil Habit. That just
yeah,
always makes me laugh. Even though that's not always the case, but for the most part, that is a very common story within Young Living. And so, yeah, this is
yeah.
amazing.
That's the stereotype for sure.
Yeah, yeah, this is amazing, Andy. I think that for those of you thinking about adding to your educational professional development resource library, I think that this is a wise investment. When you look at both of them, it's really only about 140 bucks or something like that, less than the YL Success Summit altogether. And again, you can find that when you go to YL Success Summit, go to resources, you'll see this page here. You can click on whichever one makes sense to you guys, and yeah, so it's always just good for you guys listening, everybody listening. I say you guys, but everybody listening, and all of this being a fellow passionate Young Living product user and leader like myself, that these resources are, as I put there, while Success Summit approved. We're not going to put anything in front of you that we haven't used or I haven't used myself and that I don't really highly respect. And Andy's definitely at the top of the list. So, Andy, thank you so much. Do you have any final words of wisdom that you'd like to share or send?
No, no, man, I don't. That's it. That's a wrap. I
Yeah,
appreciate having me on, and proud to be associated with you guys. It's always an honor to kind of be in the Wild Summit Circle with great leaders like yourself and the people that you associate with. So, man, I'm proud to kind of be in that number right there.
yeah. Well, I am. It's great to have you, and thank you so much, everybody who is on with us still live. For the many of you on the phone that I cannot see, welcome or not welcome. Thank you, and everybody else who's on with us live in the visual component. It was great to have you. And if you're listening to this in the future, then I hope that you found that this was a great time investment for you, as I trust that you will. So thanks, everybody. Have a great night, and we will see you on the next
Yep,
call, and we'll talk to you soon.
yep. Adios. Thanks, Barney.
You're welcome.